Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the distributed transactions. You already know about it. So when there are multiple microservices are involved in a DB transaction, it's a distributed transaction. Let's say we send the request to create an order, but we have to verify or validate some information in the product API or in the inventory API or could be a customer API. So there are multiple microservices are involved in the transaction. So that is a distributed transaction. Achieving atomicity in distributed transactions, it's difficult, it's complex. So the first technique we have is two-phase commit. Let's understand how can we implement two-phase commit. You already know about this code if you have been following my videos. And you can observe here that inventory API, this is the new API that I have added. When we make the request to the order API, we will be using inventory API and the product API for some kind of validations. I just wanted to add two APIs so we can understand the two-phase commit. So let me show you what we have in the inventory API. Again, we have the app setting development. I haven't made all the changes in the program.cs as well. I just implemented this inventory.cs class. It's a class that will have the inventory ID, that this is going to the name and the quantity. It's very simple basic class. This is the DB context that we have created. Okay, so we have the inventory DB set here. So whenever we run the migration command, this inventories table would be created in the database. Of course, I'm not going to do that. It's just an example how can we implement the two-phase commit. Okay, so I have a controller here. This is the inventory controller. I'm using the DB context here. This is the DB transaction. Okay, I just have added this logic just to save some time. Okay, so you know about the two-phase commit. There are two phases. First one is the prepare phase and the second one is the commit phase. Okay, so when we create the order, when we send the order request, we first call the reserve inventory. We send the ID of the inventory ID and we send the quantity that needs to be reserved. Here you see we begin the transaction, we save in the transaction. Okay, this is the variable that we have declared here. We find if the ID is there. If the ID is null, we return the status code as 404. So this is the prepare phase. Okay, so in the prepare phase we are sending the prepare requests to all the microservices that are involved. So we can do the validation here. We can reserve the price. We can check the quantity. We can do a lot of things that are related to the transactions. Okay, so here I'm just checking if the ID is there. If the ID is there, I'm going to deduct the quantity. We can also check if the quantity that we have raised is still less than the inventory quantity, the quantity that we have in the inventory table. Okay, if all the validations are true, we make the changes. Okay, and we run the status code as 200, so that means we are ready. Okay, and if it's not, then we send the request as 500 error. Okay, we'll see how we can use this in the order API. You'll understand better then. This is the commit. Let's say this code will be same in the product API as well. Let's copy this one and I think it would help you to understand it. Go to the controller. Okay, let me add it here, this one. Let's add a folder here. Let's call it implementation. Okay, let me copy this one. I'm just saving the time. We already have the model, so we don't have to copy this one. Let's copy this one. Let's paste it here. Okay, let's change the namespace. Let's call this one product. So this is how I created the inventory DB context. This is the DB context you will install the package, right? And this is going to be the product. Okay, we can check in the NuGet and we can install this one in the product API. Okay, once installed, we get the option to use it. We define the DB context option here. So this is ready. Okay, now we define private read only product DB context. We'll give it a name, product DB context. Let's copy this one here, remove. Okay, sorry, this is, yeah, this is the constructor. I thought it's a method. Let's assign product DB context is equal to product DB context. This is fine. So the isolation level, let's delete this one, we are not using it. Okay, let's use the product DB context for the begin transaction. Let's create a new variable. Let's call it a transaction, same one. Okay, so we have here the products, and this is going to be the product DB context as well. Okay, so we have a reserve product. Okay, that's it. Let's copy the commit as well. So we have again two phases, the reserve phase or the prepare phase and the commit phase. So first we make the call to the reserve product and then we call the commit product, the transaction we already have. So if we go to the order API, okay, where is that controller? This one. Let's create a new HTTP client. Let's call it a inventory API. It will be running on, let me get that, where is that, 5230 5230. Okay, so yeah, this is fine. Okay, so this is called product, and this is called inventory. Okay, bear with me for some time, you will understand it perfectly how we're gonna do that. Okay, now everything is ready. One thing is missing, sorry. Let's get this one. So when we raise a request to create an order, we are using product API and the inventory API for some kind of validation. Okay, so the first phase of two-phase commit is prepare phase. So we have to send the request to the products for preparing whatever the the changes or the updates we are going to make it. So in the prepare phase, it will also make sure the validations that are uh, needs to be performed for the product or the inventory or any other microservices that are involved in the transaction. So in the product, when we call the reserve or product, or this is the prepare phase, okay, I'll call it a prepare product. Okay, so we are sending the request to the uh, product API first, and then we will also send the request to the inventory API as well. because this is the first phase of, or the first step we have in the two-phase commit, right? So once we get okay from both of the microservices that are involved, then we move to the commit phase. Okay, so how we are gonna do that? So now when we make the request to the create order, we will be calling the product and inventory APIs to get ready. Once we get the okay from both the APIs, then we will move to the commit phase. Okay, so this is going to be the inventory. Okay, so now this product controller and an inventory, this is the method we are going to call this a product prepare product. We have the token here as well, and we can use it here, right? And in the inventory we can use the token here as well. So it's just whenever the request is taking time and we abort the create order, or the user terminated the request, this cancellation token would come into the picture, and it would cancel the transaction, it would cancel the request. That's why we need the cancellation token. We would be passing the cancellation token from wherever this API is being called. So we are not passing any data to the product controller. Reserve product, let's call it. Okay, so we don't have any data. We have mentioned the ID and the quantity in the URL itself. Okay, we can also create a model of it, and we can pass the model then. So instead of post JSON, we can use the post async, and we define the order dot product dot ID in the URL, and the order dot product dot quantity, and the last one is the token itself. So this is the URL we have no data to pass here, so we can mention the string content. We can pass the content as empty. Okay, let's use this one for the inventory as well. Okay, okay, so this is supposed to be formatter. Let's format this one. Okay, we can pass the again, it's not a logically it's not correct. Have we are not passing the inventory ID in the order itself, because this order is having the order ID and the product ID. Maybe we can create a new field here. Let's call it inventory, and the inventory will have the inventory ID, and the name and the quantity, that's pretty much same. Let's use this one and this one. Okay, now we can pass the inventory dot inventory ID, inventory dot quantity product, prepare for inventory and prepare for product. This is processing, this is inventory response. Okay, so now we make the call to product response and the inventory response, right? So we can do one thing. If product response dot is success status code, okay, and inventory response dot is success code, then we can start with the commit phase. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, we call it product commit is equal to, you can use the same client, dot post sync. Is it a post method we have here? Yeah, this is the post and this is the commit product. Okay, let's use the API product commit product. I'm just telling you how we can do that. Okay, if I make the call to the product controller to reserve or the prepare the product, it will be failed here because I don't have the tables created, so it will fail here and it will return the 500 and other. So what we can do here, we can pass the status as 200. Okay, and same can be done in the inventory as well. Okay, this is just for the explanation how we can implement the two-phase commit. So what are we passing in the product commit? We're passing nothing. Okay, we don't have anything here. Let's again implement same thing. String content string dot empty. Okay, this is it, and we call it inventory. Sorry, commit. Okay, and make the call to inventory commit inventory. Okay, once we get the okay from, let's say, product commit dot a success code. Okay, then we can go for the inventory commit. Okay, once we get the okay from inventory commit, okay, then we can say okay, this is done. Okay, otherwise we are going to return the status as, you can return anything. Okay, I'm just turning 500 is not created. Okay, so I just want to explain the logic. Okay, so what are we doing here? We're not returning, I know. Okay, let's call this one here. Let's call it product or inventory response is not okay. Okay, so what I'm trying to explain here, how the two-phase commit works. Okay, so we have the product response, we have the inventory response. We have to send the prepare request to each of the microservices that are involved in the transaction. Okay, again we talked in our other videos, like we send the request to all the APIs that are involved. We don't, you know it's not like the product response itself is, it's not, if it's failing, then why are we sending to the inventory response? This is the drawback of the two-phase commit. This is one of the drawbacks. Okay, so we send the, we can still check it. Okay, but this is not how it works. We send the request to the product response and then inventory response. Once we get the okay from the product and then inventory response, we start with the commit phase. Now we first send the request to the product commit. Okay, once we get this is okay, then we send the request to the inventory commit. Now let's say if it's not okay, how we are gonna handle it? So we have another URL, or we have another method that will roll back the product. Okay, so how can we do that? This is the commit, this is not rollback. Okay, how can we do that? We can create another method. Let's call it rollback. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, we can call the rollback. Okay, so this is how it works. We get we call the product commit. Okay, if this is not right, Then we call the rollback, and let's say the product commit says okay, and if it says okay, that means we have committed our changes in the product table. Then we call the inventory commit, and let's say if the inventory commit fails, we can roll back the inventory commit here, right? That's easy because we haven't committed the changes into the inventory table. So we roll back inventory table changes, but we cannot roll back the changes that have already been committed to the product table. Cannot happen for product table. This is one of the major drawback that we discussed in our videos. If the commit itself fails, like we have committed one or two tables already, and if this is the last commit and if it gets failed, how we can roll back the earlier changes that we have made to the product or the any other APIs. This is where the two-phase commit fails. So this is how we can implement it. I'm not going to run it and explain, okay, because this is not the implementation. This is just a dummy scenario. This is how you can implement your two-phase commit. To tackle the situation where the commit fails, where we want to roll back the changes that's already been committed, we use the saga pattern. We can use the orchestration, the type of saga, and we can use the choreography. It's another type of saga pattern. So we'll understand it in our next video. Okay, so I'll see you guys there. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you like the content. I hope you understand what I've been trying to explain. If you have some doubt or any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll be happy to answer it. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys again. Bye bye.